Hello, and welcome to this video on binning, a feature that allows you to create bins to hold segments of your data based on the distribution of different values rather than on sort field values. In this video, we will show you how to create bins, adjust bin width, and use them in different types of charts. Binning allows you to determine the frequency of values across the entire range of values. It is used for analyzing a frequency distribution. With binning, you can create discrete buckets of continuous data that control how groups of your data display. Binning gives you the ability to review trends and spot outliers. Note that in this video, we use a filter so that values that are less than 2000 will display. This allows us to focus our example. You can review the distribution of revenue for sales orders from retail sales. In this example, these revenue ranges are represented by bins that are grouped by $250. You can see that the largest number of orders brought in the smallest revenue, while the trend declines as the bin size gets larger. With binning, you can see the frequency of how often values in a range appear across the different groupings. You can change the size of your bins to meet the requirements of your data. As the range of values from the maximum to the minimum increases, you will want to increase the size of your bins. Ultimately, you want to pay attention to the distribution of values in your data. Take time to review the actual distance between your values so that you can accommodate them. Although they look similar, a histogram and a bar chart represent two different views of your data. A bar chart creates a bar for each sort dimension value in your data. A histogram is composed of bars that represent counts of measure values. The height of each bar is a count of the measure values that fall into that range. A bell curve is an example of a histogram. To create a histogram, click the Other button on the Format tab and select the vertical or horizontal histogram chart type. Note that you can also create a histogram in visualization mode. In InfoAssist, bins are automatically created for histograms. Histograms use a single measure field. The number and frequency of distinct values for that field is determined, and the count of each is plotted. Each bar in the histogram represents a bin. Since a histogram plots measure values, you must use a measure field that has a range of different values in the base data. For example, the entire sale units column contains a single value, and therefore would not be a good candidate for analysis by a histogram. Instead, let's use revenue. This histogram plots the number of sales that fall into each revenue bin. Immediately we can see that we have so many bars that they can't all fit on the page. What does this tell us? The bin size is too small for our data, so all our values are split into too many bins to easily analyze. When we initially create a bin in InfoAssist Plus, the default bin size is 10. To edit the bin size, right-click the bin in the query pane and click Edit Bins. Based on our first chart, we can conclude that bins of 10 are too small. Let's try changing the width of bins value to 500 and rerun the chart. Note that you can also modify the field format of the bin, which is set by default to match the format of the source field. Now our histogram contains just 4 bars. We can see that most sales orders were valued at less than $500 each. However, some sales orders fell into the ranges of $500 to $1,000, $1,000 to $1,500, or $1,500 to $2,000. You have the option to add a little more granularity to this chart by picking a point between the two options we viewed so far, 10 and 500. You can increase the number of bars by decreasing the bin size until you reach the bin size that you feel best suits your data. Now when we run the chart, we see bars in increments of 250. Our data is skewed right, or has positive skew, meaning the average revenue is higher than the median revenue. We can see that a plurality of customers spent less than $250 with each sales order, but that almost as many spent between $250 and $500, and that there were sale orders going well over $1,000. You can also use bins to analyze your data categorizations in other charts and reports. For example, we can create a pie chart visualizing how gross profit related to our groupings of revenue. First, create bins for the revenue field manually and add them as slices to the pie chart. You can then use any measure in the pie chart. Using sale units shows the distribution of revenue values just like in a histogram, because sale units represent a count of rows in the base data. It shows, as before, that about a third of sales resulted in both revenue of less than $250 and $250 to $500, with fewer sales resulting in higher revenue. We can also chart our revenue bins by a measure field, such as gross profit. This pie chart shows that sales of between $750 and $1,000, although few in number, actually account for about 11% of our gross profit, due to their higher value. Bins are also useful for displaying categories of your data in reports. We can convert our pie chart from a chart to a report. Bins can be created and edited in reports in the same way as charts. Notice how this data presents in a report, showing the bin values representing the low limit for each of the ranges identified for the selected measure field. As you can see, you can quickly and easily create a histogram to show a distribution using binning, or you can manually create a chart that uses bins to facilitate even deeper analysis of your data. To learn more, visit the WebFocus knowledge base, where you can search all technical topics and videos.